When did you guys really understand the power and the potential behind pivoting in your business?
Yeah, pivoting, I'm really glad that we're covering this topic because if you look in a lot of great companies, somewhere along the line of their story was a pivot, but a lot of times it doesn't get talked about. And so for us, our pivot came really out of, I think, both necessity and frustration. And so the necessity was that we had created this braking system, and in order to have a successful business selling this braking system, we were only making a few bucks of profit every single bike that we got it on. So we really had to get on,
Okay.
hundreds of thousands or millions of bikes to make that business make sense. And so in the bike industry, there's, at least in the US, there's a few companies that control most of the mass market bikes that, they make millions and millions of bikes. So you really have to kind of break through on those companies, get on a bunch of their bikes in order to scale that business. So we had some success. We were having some customers, but it was 10,000 bikes here, 20,000 bikes there. We never were breaking through to getting on millions of bikes. And then they would only make a decision once a year to refresh their product line. So it was like the years were starting to pass by and we weren't getting where we wanted to go with that braking system. So eventually, and this is the necessity part, we knew out of necessity, somehow we've got to be able to control our own destiny and not be dependent on these other people to get the system out there.
Yeah. Sure.
And so, luckily by that time, we'd also learned enough about the bike industry and how it works and how bikes are made and all this kind of stuff. And so we ended up just out of necessity creating our own bike line and putting our braking system on that so that we had a bike line to sell. But the other component of it, when I say frustration, we were also learning a lot of things that just were things that we didn't think were right about the bike industry. So one example is that something like 90% of all kids' bikes are sold through either Walmart or Target. That's where most of the kids' bikes are sold. And in that environment, kids' bikes are really, really cheap. They're heavy. And in a lot of ways, they're unsafe for more reasons than just the braking. So we had created this great braking system where we're addressing a safety problem in braking, but we started to see all these other safety problems that we could address through creating our own bikes. And then also the way that these bikes are sold, the bike industry really hadn't addressed kind of the transition to the digital age and e-commerce. So we started to understand that, I think we could sell these online and created this amazing experience online. So all those things kind of came together. But looking back, that all makes sense. At the time, I can tell you it was largely out of necessity. We had to figure out a way to change the business and control our own destiny and make sure that we could survive and thrive. I mean, we wanted to create a thriving business, and that wasn't happening in the first few years with just the braking system.
Yeah, so it's like change or die. I mean,
Exactly.
I know it sounds dramatic in business, but the owner of Belay, Brian Miles, who we've had the privilege to work for many years, would always, say to us, and it resonated, even though it sounds so dramatic, your business is either, it's changing or it's dying. We have to constantly evolve and look for the opportunities with which we can grow. And it looks like the necessity really forced you to look for opportunity. You probably never thought you would actually make your own bikes.
I think in a lot of pivot stories, when you hear a founder tell a story, sometimes it'll be like, oh, we saw this much bigger opportunity, and so we went after it and stuff. I think the reality is that a lot of pivot stories are built out of necessity. And like you said, I mean, in a lot of cases, when businesses do fail, it was because of a failure to recognize that there was a need to evolve and pivot.